March 22, spring has started, and we are about to wrap up the last week in the wine industry. And of course, it was dominated by Mr. Trump and the results of ProWein. And this is also what we want to start with into this episode. But beforehand, happy birthday to my dad. Happy birthday to my mate Tommy Grimshaw, my favorite bubble maker. And very happy birthday to my dear friend Lotta, one of the fastest women I know personally. Have a great freaking weekend and a great freaking birthday. Celebrate yourselves and have a lot of fun with some, I don't know, interesting drinks, nice bubbles, or whatever. Welcome to the Pinot Pixel Podcast episode number 246, the weekly update, again fully packed and dominated by Mr. Trump, but we want to start with something different. There is a summary available of ProWein 2025, and what we can see is that ProWein visitors dropped by 7% to 42,000 visitors, and if you go back to my previous episode, I predicted 42,000 visitors. I haven't counted them, it was just a guess by feeling, so there was a drop of 7% in visitors, but in addition, there was a drop of 20% in exhibitors. So they saw 20% less, 4,200 compared to 5,300 over last year. But in the end, they wrapped it up in a positive way, saying still the people that are interested in the German, in the Central European markets, they come by. Visitors from abroad, from the UK, from the US, and also from the Eastern European countries and Russia, they were interested in ProWein. Lower quantity, higher quality is probably the best thing to wrap everything up. If you are interested in all of it, I put the press release in the show notes, and then you can read through all the numbers and stats that were published. So right now, over to our, most dominating topic over the last, 2 to 3 weeks? Mr. Trump. As expected, consumers are going wild. Importers are going wild in the US because they are afraid of 200% tariffs coming on European products. And what do they do when this happens? They are stocking up heavily. So what you can see is consumers are bunch loading champagne, Prosecco, Chianti, Bordeaux, whatever they want, whatever they're looking for from Germany, from France, from Central Europe, because they are afraid of the tariffs. And there was a lady on TikTok who was buying, 50 bottles of her favorite champagne because she says, I want to still be able to drink it and afford it. So I am heavily stocking up. And what was interesting, during ProWein, I was conducting some interviews with DOC Consortiums, with winemakers, with producers in several countries in Europe, and they all said almost the same, that either they're not afraid of the tariffs because they won't come, very positive point of view, or they say it will be way less. And one person told me that they think they just might not come and they hope that everything is blah blah. And I was a bit afraid of putting this quote into the podcast, but in the end, there was the owner of the champagne house Levasseur. Europeans are hoping that the Trump tariffs are just blah blah. So there's a lot of talking and nothing will happen. I think this is a dangerous way to see that, but at least to wrap my interviews up, most of the people said that if it will be something between 20 and 50% of tariffs, we will be able to cover that through all the participants in the supply chain. So 5% will be covered by the winemaker, 5% by the importer, 5% by the distributor, and 5% by the consumers. Something like this. Yeah? I don't know if this is the right way to do it, but in the end, we are not able to do anything against tariffs because even Trump doesn't know what he's going to do the next morning he wakes up. So we will just wait and see what will happen. At least consumers are preparing in a very crazy but also attended way. They are just buying, they're stocking up whatever they are interested in. And the loss of European sparkling wines can be a win for domestic ones or for the ones that aren't affected by tariffs. And there was an article in the drinks business that the Trump tariffs threat might be an opportunity for English sparkling, because at least the quality is very, very much comparable to champagne. Maybe there has to be more storytelling, because so many people still don't know that there is great quality sparkling wine coming from England. I had a chat with some friends at the Wine GB stand at ProWein about basically the same topic, that the quality is there. Of course, there's always this saying, yeah, they have the same soil and they have the climate of Champagne of 30 years ago. Well, yes, but the thing is that even with these parameters, you have to be able, you have to have the infrastructure, you have to have the knowledge and the people to be able to produce high quality sparkling wine. And the region of, at least the southern part of England, is able to do so. And most people don't know. Every now and then I have rarity tastings, I have wine tasting with people that are higher involved in wine, and always when I crack a bottle of English sparkling wine, they say, oh, there's wine in England? And I say, yes, there has been for 2,000 years. So it's not new world. They know what they're doing, high quality sparkling wine. And if the Americans will discover that, England can fill the gap of champagne that won't be able to come to the US, or that would be just too expensive. So there might be an opportunity for English sparkling wine. And with the decline of champagne in general, there might be something adding up to that. So English sparkling wine can win, at least if the UK won't be affected by Trump tariffs. Who knows? Well, and secondly, after the 2024 numbers have been published by Champagne, there was a drop again. Champagne is sitting now at 221 million hectoliters, which is the lowest since 1996. And this gap, because champagne might be too expensive compared to Prosecco, Cava, and stuff like that, can be filled by the domestic sparkling wine market in California. And I was in California last year in August, and there were so many great producers, not only in California, but in the US in general. I mean, there's great stuff coming out of Oregon, of Washington State, for example, but California, especially the area of Russian River Valley, for example, great sparkling wines. And they can fill the gap that champagne isn't able to fill anymore. So if you're interested in several sparkling regions, I recommend the episodes I made a bit more than 1 year ago, talking about sparkling wine nationally and internationally. And in addition, I put the link in the show notes so you can look it up, what is possible. So right now, different topic. It's 2025 and the wine industry is struggling. It's in decline, the merchants lament, the critics sigh, but one small, indomitable village of Gallic winemakers stands firm, defying the odds and thriving against the market. Concha y Toro announced that they have been growing by almost 15% year on year against the market, guys. Against the market. 15% growth year on year, 14.5% increase in sales, reaching 958 billion pesos, which is roughly about $1 billion. The EBITDA margin increased by 440 basis points to 15.8%, representing an almost 80% rise in earnings. That is absolutely insane. And they were doing so many things right when it comes to the shift of brands, when it comes to adjusting the strategies to the specific markets. There was big growth, double-digit growth seen in Brazil, in the United Kingdom, and in the US. And I mean, one of the most famous brands probably is Casillero de Diablo, which saw a strong growth of almost 20% in revenue. That is insane. So if you are looking for a blueprint, how to grow in this very, very difficult market, because everybody is complaining, nobody's acting, they are. Have a look at the strategy of Concha y Toro 2024. And if you can't find it, ask ChatGPT, guys. It's not super difficult to find that. Seriously. So right now we're coming to the international market. We start with Germany, where it was announced that German wines are no longer really highly demanded in the UK. They have seen huge declines over the last 20 years, and in the end, it was only 12 million liters, a loss of 10% compared to last year. And just looking at the numbers, 2005, it has been around 100 million liters, which is a decline of almost 90% over 20 years. That is absolutely crazy. And I guess the biggest dip happened during COVID in combination with the Brexit. And right now there's only few German wine available in the English market. I mean, of course, it can also be a reason for the price point. The most interesting part of this announcement is that generally the imports of the UK have been growing by 2.4% last year. So the Brits are less interested in German wine. Is this a possibility for other countries? Yes, it is. Should this be something where Germany should say, well, maybe our strategy is not a wrong one, we should change something? Yes, indeed, because we have great wines in Germany. We should showcase them way more. This is what I said in the previous episode talking about ProWein. The DVE is doing a good job. Could there be more? Sure, but at least we're trying to tell our story about the high quality wines of Germany. And I mean, we have been big in the UK in the 70s and 80s. Some of the biggest brands were coming out of Germany. And I harvested with a 61-year-old guy 2 years ago in the UK, and he was telling me about his favorite wines, his favorite brands from Germany from the 70s and 80s. And this was the time of the big mass market productions of Germany with Müller-Thurgau, with Dornfelder and stuff like that. Well, we shouldn't get back to this, but maybe we should tell more of the story. And there's a country that is doing pretty well on that at the moment, which is Austria. Austria is hosting so many tastings right now in the UK and London, getting to the on and off trade people that are in charge of buying wines. That is smart, guys. So maybe Germany can adapt to that. I don't know. Let's try it. And talking about the German market, the current coalition is discussing a reduction of the VAT from 19 to 7% for gastronomy. And Coca Cola Germany is supporting this, saying this can be a huge opportunity for gastronomy, for the hospitality sector to grow again, because currently it's suffering a lot. And on the one hand, it's good to simplify the taxes because it's super complex, guys. You know, you even have to differentiate between milk and oat milk, which nobody gets. So in the end, saying to simplify it and put it just on one specific VAT for everything in gastronomy should be good. On the other hand, saying there's a general reduction from 19 to 7% means gifting 12% earnings to gastronomy, which might be good for the sector, but in the end, the customers won't see anything. And if this changes again, gastronomy will put discussions up saying we have to raise our prices. This has happened during COVID, and we will probably see that again. So we need more like a long-term strategy rather than just saying, okay, let's drop the VAT. But there will be more discussions upcoming in the future, because this is just the first step to change something in the sector and in politics as well. Talking about a revolution, the first DOC in Italy is talking about introducing PV varieties, so fungal resistant varieties, to the DOC, which is kind of a big revolution. You know, Italy is a country that is well known for their indigenous varieties, because, I mean, there are, 700 or so, and they are very, very famous, and many of the indigenous varieties are, I would say, not even known to the public, because we are talking about regions. Only few people know that Sangiovese is actually the variety of Chianti, for example, or Nebbiolo of Barolo in Piedmont. But introducing PVs is kind of a different thing, but there are many people saying it might be a good idea to suit climate change, the interest in lower alcohol wines, because usually PVs, they don't struggle, depending on what variety you're choosing, and producing a lower amount of sugar, resulting in a lower amount of alcohol. So there's so many ways this could be good. Lower treatment, or less treatments in the vineyard with sprayings and stuff like that. And the DOC della Venezia right now is suggesting that they could introduce PV, fungal-resistant varieties, for their IGT qualities. And of course, well, there are a lot of discussions right now, because many things are shaking up the traditional wine country Italy. We were recently talking about the introduction of alcohol-free stuff, and that some people might be interested in alcohol-free Chianti, for example, and Lollobrigida at least was supporting to introduce alcohol-free wines to Italy, but not doing anything with the DOC system. I had a chat with the Prosecco DOC Consortium that said it's an interesting category, alcohol-free wine, but currently we are not allowed, and due to the fact that this is federal law, until it won't change, we won't change anything in our regulation. It might be interesting to have an alcohol-free Prosecco or at least Glera, and I mean, big brands such as Mionetto are already doing this, but it has to come from Italy, the state, the government, to say we can change something. And recently, one of the biggest names in the industry, Alessio Planeta, said it would be good for the industry. Maybe to get rid of the huge amount of wine we still have in the cellar in Italy, but also because people are so closely related to their favorite Italian wine brand. And this is a quote by Alessio Planeta, I want to have an alcohol-free Chianti on the shelf. So this is something to consider, changing the wine law from more traditional to a more approachable and future-proof way, and introducing PVs to the system can also be a thing. We have seen at least a change in recent wine laws in Bordeaux, for example, adding up with specific climate-suitable varieties for, let's say, being fit for the future when it comes to Bordeaux wines. Fit for the future is also something that is happening in the UK when it comes to technology and technological advances. And I have met Ian from Jojo's Vineyard last year, and he's a technot. I had so much fun talking to him, and he's one of the guys that is pushing the upcoming project a lot. There's a new frost forecasting system to help UK vineyards just to be well prepared or better prepared for spring, for bud break and stuff like that. So there are many sensors sitting in the vineyards, measuring temperature, wind, rain, everything that is going on. And all you have to do as a winemaker is to post your bud burst dates. So the algorithm behind the application gets more precise. And in the future, there's an easier way to predict frost dates, or at least maybe, colder waves that might come where you should protect your vineyard in, any way. Many of us know these pictures of Chablis, of Burgundy, of the Rhone Valley, where they put up the tons of where they just fire up wood just to try to keep, the temperature, or just to change the temperature only by 1 or 2 degrees, just to stay above the freezing level to protect the buds. Sometimes it won't happen. Sometimes it helps. So, yeah. This is something that can help in advance with new technology. And if you're interested to learn more about that, I'll put the link in the show notes. And in addition, ask Ian from Jojo's Vineyard. He loves to talk about stuff like that. And talking about technology, Heineken recently launched their global Gen AI lab in Singapore. And this is so fascinating in so many, because Heineken is a company that tries to keep up with everything that is happening in the world, talking about technology, talking about marketing standards in general, and they have launched this lab for so many regions. This lab will lead the development of advanced, scalable, generative AI solutions across critical business areas, including sophisticated agentic systems that can autonomously solve complex problems, from automated marketing content creation to intelligent financial reporting and next-generation customer support and knowledge management system. So it is made for all the areas that Heineken is working in and on. And maybe there will also be a section for product development, because Heineken recently announced that they will launch an alcohol-free cloudy cider. And this is also smart in so many ways, because it's low in alcohol, it's fresher in taste. The UK market is, I would say, suited palate-wise for ciders. They're interested in ciders, and maybe the AI that created this product also knew that the cider market is worth £2 billion right now, just in the pubs in the United Kingdom, in bars and in restaurants. Isn't that crazy? It feels kind of niche when it comes to, Germany, Austria, or even the US, but in the UK and also in France, especially in the northern part of France, it is a thing. People are interested in it, and, well, Heineken knows that, and this is maybe why they introduced this new cloudy cider alcohol-free brand. So it's cider, it suits the market, it's alcohol-free, well, and it looks Pretty interesting, actually. Put the link in the show notes. And the last two news for today, when we talk about the adjustment of trends and customer base, Yellowtail changes its branding for the first time in over 20 years. Yellowtail was introduced to say, well, we want to have price-wise easier, accessible wine on the shelves, and the branding was actually like that. You could see the big brand Yellowtail. They had a kangaroo, which is basically the identity of the brand. And right now they're saying we have to go a step further. It should look more premium. So they go from Bordeaux bottle to Burgundy bottle. The kangaroo looks a bit more modern, let's put it like this. And they replaced the big writing of Yellowtail through the variety, because they say research show that people have to know what varieties in there to find their favorite wine, their favorite style, very, very quickly on the shelves. So yeah, a small, tiny adjustment, but maybe if it helps, just compare the two bottles. I put the link in the show notes. And last but not least, that was crazy, guys. PepsiCo announced that they will acquire Poppi. It's an adaptogenic brand in cans in the US. Super tasty, by the way. I tasted some of them last year in California. For $1.95 billion. And this is absolutely insane, because several years ago, this brand, Poppi, went on Shark Tank to get an investment of $400,000 for 10% share of the company. In the end, they made a deal, $400,000 for 25%, but look at this exit, guys. $1.95 million. That is $1 billion. That is insane. And I mean, it's an interesting brand. It's a modern brand. It goes into this health drink sector, bringing younger people to the customer base. And Pepsi right now has its first or the next big alcohol-free, health-oriented, adaptogenic brand in the portfolio. So congrats to Pepsi and Poppi. Huge success. Link is in the show notes. Have a wonderful weekend, guys. See you on Wednesday. Ciao, ciao.